Hi, this is Paul from FinishYourSong.com. Over the last few videos I've been looking at the recording and editing of automation data, and we've been looking at how that's recorded on lanes in your DAW, as we have for example here with this Strat. There's a automation somewhere. Here we are. We have a send enable on that particular guitar that's been automated from off to on, or vice versa. But there are alternatives to automation when it comes to volume. One of the things that happens when you put volume automation on a lane is that your channel fader gets a mind of its own. You can't then go back in and adjust just by pulling down as you could previously. What happens is that you have to edit all of the automation data on that lane to get that change, and sometimes that's not what you want, particularly if you want to edit the volume of a song in a very small section of the song. You don't want to go rewriting or adjusting all of your automation data relative to that one particular little section. And that's what I want to look at here. Just go back to in this particular song we have a section of vocal here, and there's a particularly loud note there. Now you could automate that so that it's quieter. What you can also do is use what is referred to as clip gain to just adjust that one particular section. So if I expand that, we can see that's the section where the singer has got quite loud. In fact, if we just have a quick listen, you'll be able to hear that. So he's really gone for it on that, but perhaps in the context of the song we don't want that to be so explosively loud. So with clip gain, it's about adjusting the volume of that particular section of the waveform on the project page at that particular point. And what I'm going to recommend is turning off the snap, because you want to be fairly precise with this. What I would also recommend is that you have, wherever it is in your file preferences or your settings, you have snap to zero crossing point enabled, so that any cuts you make will actually be at zero and you won't get any unnecessary clicks or glitches in your signal. So we'll just expand that right up. Oops, wrong way. There we are. And we've got the waveform. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut that particular performance there. If I go in, when I hover over it in Cubase, and you'll find there'll be different markers of similar types in various DAWs. In fact, what I'll do before I do this is just pull that so it's a larger thing. We can just pull that down, and as you can see it's reducing the waveform. I'm going to reduce it by about 3 dB. And if we then just zoom up a bit, you can see my waveform has shrunk a bit, and we'll just have a quick listen to that in context. So that's reduced it down from where it was before, and I haven't had to introduce any automation data onto the lane. So I can go through this particular vocal or any particular track and just pull down those bits where it's one-off moments and adjust the volume level without having to introduce automation data, so I can balance out the performance prior to setting the overall level of the track in the mix. Doesn't stop me going back in later and introducing automation data. What it does mean is that I can deal with those little moments first, rather than trying to deal with them in the course of the mix by using automation data. The other thing you can do is you can put some effects on a particular track. If we just zoom up again, got it right this time. You can fade in and fade out. If you have a look, this isn't perhaps the best colour, so if we just zoom up to here, this particular acoustic, what you can do, I've already, because I've edited out the original track, if you look at my video on setting up a project in Cubase, you'll see that what I do is I edit the sections when I import the whole WAV file and then fade into it. But you can also fade the whole thing. So if we just solo this and play a bit, I just set that marker, I'll play this soloed and then I'll play it with a fade. And here it is, faded in. Okay, so you can see how you can add fades. The other thing you might want to do is to just mute a particular piece just for a short section of the song. Let's have a look down here where we have these harmonies. We might decide in the grand scheme of things that we don't want the first section of the harmonies to appear. So we can cut them. But what you don't want to do really is to delete them, because you might want to see how it goes. So most DAWs have a mute option, so you can simply click on them and now they won't play. They're muted out, you can have a listen. So what we've got is that we have clip gain, where we can adjust the individual level of short sections of the song or even of an entire waveform. We have the ability to fade in and fade out of certain sections, and of course there's nothing to stop us adding a fade if we wanted to for a particular section of the song. If we felt a swell of, say, a string section was something we wanted and we'd recorded it, rather than programming automation, you can try simply fading it in. And then we have just the ability to cut our audio and mute, so that we've still got the audio there if we want it. If we decide in the fullness of time, when the mix is complete, that we're missing that section, we can put it back quite straightforwardly. But in this instance you can simply just mute it out and then no problem. Okay, well I think I've flogged the topic of automation to death, so in the next video something completely different. But until then, you take care of yourselves.